Chosen one, stop what you are doing right now, because what I am about to speak over your life was not meant for everyone. It was meant specifically for you. The fact that you are here at this exact moment, reading these words, is not a coincidence. Heaven arranged this. God directed your steps to this place because there is something He needs you to hear before you take another step forward. You have been told no, not once, not twice, but so many times that the word no began to feel like your identity. People looked at your dreams and shook their heads. They looked at your plans and laughed quietly. They looked at your potential and saw nothing worth believing in. Doors closed in your face, opportunities slipped through your fingers, people you trusted walked away. And in the middle of all of that, a question grew inside your heart that you were almost afraid to ask out loud. Was God even watching? Chosen one, I need you to hear this with every part of your spirit. Not only was God watching, He was working. Every single no that entered your life was not a sign of your failure. It was a sign of your redirection. Every person who turned you away did not close your future. They cleared the path for something so much greater that your mind cannot yet fully contain it. They said no. God said, watch me. And that is exactly what is about to happen. Choose one. Let me take you back to a moment you remember. You know the one. You walked into that room with hope in your chest and a dream in your hands. You had prepared. You had prayed. You had worked. And you believed, deep in your spirit, that this was your moment. That this was finally the door that would open and change everything. But they said no. Maybe it was a job you deserved. Maybe it was a relationship you invested everything in. Maybe it was a business opportunity, a loan, a partnership, a chance that felt like your only way forward. Maybe it was family who doubted you, friends who stopped believing in you, or a system that seemed designed to keep you exactly where you were. And when that no arrived, something happened inside you that was hard to describe. It was not just disappointment, it was deeper than that. It felt like rejection at the level of your soul, like the universe itself had looked at you and decided you were not enough, not ready, not worthy. You tried to push through it. You smiled when people asked how you were doing. You said you were fine. But at night, alone with your thoughts, the weight of that rejection sat heavy on your chest. You replayed the moment over and over. You wondered what you could have done differently. You questioned your worth. You questioned your purpose. You, even, in the quietest moments, questioned whether God had forgotten about you. Chosen one, He had not forgotten you, not for a single second. What you experienced was not abandonment, it was an alignment. And the difference between those two things will change everything about how you see your past, your present, and your future. Type Amen if you believe God's plan is greater than any rejection you have faced, something that the people who said no to you could never understand. They made their decision based on what they could see, and what they could see was limited. They saw your current situation, not your destiny. They saw your present struggle, not your future strength. They saw the chapter you were in, not the book God was writing about your life. When a person says no to you, they are operating from their own limited vision. They do not have access to the blueprint that God holds over your life. They cannot see what God placed inside you before you were even born. They cannot feel the calling that lives deep in your spirit. They cannot measure the depth of your faith or the weight of your purpose. So when they said no, they were not actually qualified to make that decision. They spoke from ignorance, not from knowledge. They rejected something they did not have the spiritual capacity to understand. And here is what God does when people without vision reject people with purpose. He does not argue with them. He does not force them to change their minds. He simply moves you somewhere else. He opens a different door. He introduces you to different people. He shifts your path in a direction that the ones who rejected you will one day wish they had been part of. They said no. God said, "Watch me." And God never loses. Not once. Not ever. Chosen one, I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about every great story of breakthrough that you have ever heard. Think about every person who rose from nothing and became something extraordinary. Think about every testimony of someone who was rejected, overlooked, doubted, and dismissed, and then watched God do the impossible in their life. What do almost all of those stories have in common? The no came first. Before the yes arrived, there was a season of no. Before the breakthrough, there was the breakdown. Before the open door, there were closed ones. Before the miracle, there was the waiting room. Before the victory, there was the valley. The no was never the end of the story. The no was always the setup for what God was about to do. Think about Joseph, thrown into a pit by the very brothers who should have protected him, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison. Every direction he turned, the answer was no. No freedom, no justice, no relief, no rescue. And yet, through every single no, God was quietly positioning him for the greatest yes in his story. A yes so large that it would save an entire nation and cause the very people who rejected him to bow before him. Think about David, anointed by God himself, but rejected by his own father, who did not even think to call him from the field when Samuel arrived to choose the next king. His own father said no, not him, not that one. He is too young, too small, too ordinary. And yet God looked past every earthly rejection and saw a king, saw a warrior, saw a man after his own heart. Think about Ruth, a foreign woman with nothing to her name, following a broken path through grief and loss. Every human logic said her story was finished. Every natural sign pointed toward a dead end. And yet God was arranging a story of restoration, provision, and legacy that would echo through generations. Chosen one, you are part of that same tradition. The people who said no to you are not the authors of your story. God is, and He does not write stories that end in rejection. He writes stories that end in redemption. Type 777 if you know God is not finished with your story. Now I want to speak to something that you may have been carrying quietly inside your heart. Because sometimes the deepest wound from rejection is not the closed door itself. It is what the closed door makes you believe about yourself. When someone says no to you enough times, a dangerous thought begins to form. A thought that whispers, maybe they are right. Maybe I am not enough. Maybe I was wrong about my dreams. Maybe I misunderstood what God was saying. Maybe this calling I feel inside is just my own wishful thinking and not actually from God at all. Chosen one, that thought is a lie, and I need you to hear me say that clearly and powerfully. The enemy knows that if he can get you to doubt your identity, he does not need to fight your destiny. You will abandon it yourself. He knows that rejection is one of the most powerful weapons he has against a chosen heart. Because chosen hearts feel deeply. They invest fully. They love each other completely. And when they are rejected, the wound goes all the way to their core. But here is what the enemy forgot when he arranged those rejections. Every time a chosen heart gets knocked down and gets back up, it becomes stronger than it was before. Every time a chosen person walks through a closed door and keeps walking, their faith grows deeper than it was before. Every time someone who was designed for greatness survives a season of no, they develop a resilience that cannot be manufactured any other way. You were not weakened by the rejection, you were being prepared for it. The people who said no to you handed you something they never intended to give you. They handed you endurance, they handed you clarity, they handed you a testimony. They handed you the kind of unshakable faith that only grows in the soil of disappointment. They handed you the very tools you will need to walk into everything God has prepared for you. And they did all of that, thinking they were stopping you. They said no. God said, "Watch me." Chosen one, there is a specific kind of pain that comes from being rejected by people who were supposed to be for you. Not strangers, not enemies, but people you trusted, people you loved, people you believed in, people you sacrificed for. And they turned around and said no to you anyway. Maybe it was a parent who told you your dreams were too big, a friend who walked away when things got hard, a partner who left when you needed them most, a mentor who chose someone else, a church community that made you feel invisible, a colleague who took credit for your work, a business partner who betrayed your trust. These rejections cut deeper because they come wrapped in the pain of personal betrayal. It is not just a closed door, it is a closed door slammed by someone who held the key. But choose one. I need you to hear this truth. God allowed those specific people to remove themselves from your life because He knew what was coming for you. And He knew that what is coming for you requires a circle that is pure, loyal, aligned, and strong. He knew that the people who rejected you were not built to carry the weight of your next season. He knew they would have been a liability, not an asset, in the chapter He is about to open for you. So He allowed them to reveal themselves. He allowed the betrayal to surface. He allowed the rejection to happen. Not because He stopped caring about you, but because He cared about you too much to let you carry the wrong people into your destiny. The ones who left made room. The ones who said no created space. The ones who walked away cleared the path for the people God has already chosen to walk beside you in your next season. People who are loyal. People who are aligned. People who are ready to celebrate your victory rather than be threatened by it. The people who said no just made room for God's yes. Gently press the like button right now so this message can reach someone else who needs to hear it today. The season you are in right now. Because I believe with everything in me that you are standing at one of the most important transitions of your life. The season of no is ending. The season of yes is beginning. And the shift between those two seasons is happening right now, even if you cannot fully see it yet. You may still be in a place where things look the same on the surface. The job situation may not have changed yet. The relationship may still feel uncertain. The finances may still feel tight. The dream may still feel far away. But the chosen one, underneath the surface, things are moving. God is arranging. God is aligning. God is preparing. There are doors ahead of you that were built specifically for you. Doors that were never meant to open for anyone else. Doors that have been waiting with your name on them. And the people who rejected you, they were never meant to walk through those doors. They were never meant to be part of what is on the other side. Their rejection was not a loss for you. It was protection. It was preservation. It was God keeping you for something they were not worthy to share in. The blessing that is coming for you carries your exact name. It fits your specific calling. It matches the depth of your faith. It is proportional to everything you have walked through to get here, and nothing the people who said no to you did could stop it, delay it permanently, or redirect it away from you. Because God's yes is stronger than any human no. Type 1212 to declare that God's yes is over your life. Chosen one, I want to speak about something that requires courage to talk about, because there are some of you who did not just receive rejection from others, you received rejection from yourself. There were moments when you looked in the mirror and you were the one who said, "No, no, I cannot do this. No, I am not qualified. No, I am too broken. No, I have made too many mistakes. No, it is too late for me. No, God could never use someone like me." And that internal no was sometimes more damaging than anything anyone else ever said to you. Because when the voice of rejection lives inside your own heart, it follows you everywhere. You cannot escape it by changing environments. You cannot outrun it by working harder. You cannot silence it by achieving more. It simply relocates and continues whispering. But here is what I need you to understand about the God who chose you. He did not choose you because you were perfect. He did not choose you because you had it all together. He did not choose you because you never made mistakes, or never doubted, or never fell. He chose you in full knowledge of every flaw, every failure, every fear, and every mistake you have ever made or will ever make. He looked at the complete picture of your life, including the parts you are most ashamed of, and he still said yes. He still said chosen. He still said mine. He was still said worthy. He still said, "I have a plan for this one that will make the darkness jealous and the doubters speechless." The no you told yourself was a lie that pain taught you. And God is here right now, through these very words, to replace that lie with the truth that heaven has spoken over you since before you were born. You are chosen. You are called. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. You are not disqualified. You are exactly the kind of person God specializes in turning into something extraordinary. Because God does not build testimonies out of perfect lives, He builds them out of broken pieces that trusted Him anyway. Choose one. Let me paint a picture of what is coming, not as wishful thinking, not as empty comfort, but as a prophetic declaration based on the pattern of God's faithfulness throughout all of history. The people who rejected you will one day witness your elevation, not because you wanted revenge, not because you spent your energy trying to prove them wrong, but simply because God's plan for your life is so undeniable that when it fully manifests, even the ones who doubted you will have to acknowledge what God did. The doors that closed in your face will look small compared to the doors that are about to open. And when you walk through those new doors, you will understand clearly why the old ones had to close. You will see with perfect clarity how every rejection was a redirect, how every no was protecting you from a path that would have limited you, how every closed door was keeping you available for the open ones that God had been preparing all along. The relationships that fell away will be replaced by connections so aligned with your purpose that you will wonder how you ever thought the old ones were supposed to be permanent. The opportunities that slip through your fingers will pale in comparison to the ones that are approaching. The season of barely holding on will give way to a season of overflow that you will not be able to contain by yourself. And here is the part that is going to take your breath away. The very things that the enemy used to try to destroy you will become the foundation of your testimony. The rejection will become the message that sets others free. The pain will become the language through which you reach hearts that no one else can reach. The breakdown will become the backdrop that makes your breakthrough undeniable. God wastes nothing. Not one tear you cried in private. Not one night you spent wondering if things would ever change. Not one prayer you whispered when you felt like no one was listening. Not one moment of faith you maintained when every visible sign told you to give up. All of it is being woven together. All of it has a purpose. All of it is part of the story that God is telling through your life. Type 555 to affirm that God wastes nothing in your story. Chosen one, I want to talk about the people who are watching you right now, not the ones who are cheering you on, the ones who are waiting to see you fail, the ones who whispered behind your back, the ones who celebrated when things went wrong for you, the ones who said, "I told you so," when a door closed. Those people have a role in your story too, but it is not the role they think they have. They think they are your opposition. But God is using them as motivation. Every time someone doubted you, it stirred something deeper in your spirit. Every time someone said you would never make it, it ignited a fire inside you that would not go out. Every time someone watches for your failure, it pushes you to develop a faith that does not depend on their approval. They thought they were weakening you. They were actually sharpening you. And soon, very soon, the same people who were watching for your fall will be watching your rise, not because you planned it that way, but because God planned it that way. Because God has a way of elevating His chosen ones in full view of the very people who doubted them, not for pride, but for testimony, so that everyone watching learns that faith in God always outlasts the opinions of people. They said no. God said, "Watch me," and God always keeps His word. Now, I want to speak practically about what you need to do in this season as you transition from the place of rejection into the place of restoration and elevation. The first thing you must do is release the bitterness. I know that sounds simple. I know that in practice, it is one of the hardest things a human heart is asked to do. But bitterness is a weight that only slows down the person carrying it. The people who rejected you are not carrying it. You are. And it is costing you energy, peace, and spiritual momentum that you need for what is ahead. Releasing bitterness does not mean pretending it did not hurt. It did hurt. Releasing bitterness does not mean saying what they did was okay. It may not have been okay. Releasing bitterness simply means making the decision to stop allowing what they did to determine the direction of your energy. It means choosing to put that weight down so your hands are free to receive what God is bringing toward you. The second thing you must do is guard your mouth in this season. Be very careful about what you speak about in your own life. Do not allow the language of rejection to continue living on your lips. Do not say, "I never get a break," or "things never work out for me," or "nobody believes in me." Those words have power. And spoken repeatedly, they become the atmosphere you live in. Begin to speak what God says. Speak that you are chosen. Speak that doors are opening. Speak that the right people are coming. Speak that your best days are ahead and not behind. Speak it even when you do not feel it yet. Speak it especially when you do not feel it yet. Because faith speaks before it sees. And what faith declares, heaven moves to confirm. The third thing you must do is keep moving. Do not stop. Do not retreat. Do not allow the weight of past rejection to freeze you in place. Keep taking steps. They do not need to be perfect steps. They do not need to be confident. They simply need to be forward steps. Because God honors movement. He partners with people who are willing to walk even before they can see the full path. Every step you take in faith, even a small one, creates momentum. And momentum is exactly what breaks the paralysis that rejection tries to create in your life. Type 1010 if you are ready to walk forward in faith right now. Choose one, something specific that you may be feeling at this moment. Because some of you have been waiting for so long that the waiting itself has become painful. You have been patient. You have been faithful. You have been doing everything you know to do, and still the manifestation has not come in the way or the timing you expected. And the question living quietly in your heart is, how much longer? I want to speak to that question with honesty and with love. I do not know the exact timing that God has appointed for your breakthrough. Only He holds that. But I know this with complete certainty. His delays are never denied. His timing is never careless. His waiting room is never a waste. Every day that the promise has not yet manifested has been a day that God was using to prepare you for it. Because sometimes the blessing is ready before you are. Sometimes what God wants to give you would actually overwhelm you or harm you if it came before you had the character, the wisdom, and the spiritual depth to handle it well. Waiting is not punishment. The waiting is preparation, and you are being prepared right now for a level of blessing that requires a corresponding level of foundation. God is building that foundation in you through every day of faithful waiting. And when the appointed time arrives, and it will arrive, the manifestation will be so perfectly timed, so exactly right, so clearly from God, that there will be no doubt in your mind or anyone else's mind that this was supernatural, that this was divine, that this was God doing what only God can do. They said no. God said, "Watch me." And what God is about to do will speak for itself. Chosen one, there are people in your life right now who still do not understand your journey. They see the waiting and they interpret it as failure. They see the patience and they interpret it as stagnation. They see the quiet season and they think nothing is happening. But what they cannot see is what is happening in the unseen. They cannot see the doors that God is preparing. They cannot see the connections He is arranging. They cannot see the hearts He is softening. They cannot see the obstacles He is removing. They cannot see the timing He is perfecting. They cannot see the blessing He is packaging specifically for you. They are watching the surface and calling it the whole story. But they are only seeing one page. And one page never tells you what the whole book says. Your story is not over. It is not even close to over. You are still in the middle of it. And the middle of a God-written story is always the part right before everything changes. The closing chapters of your rejection season are being written right now, and the opening chapters of your breakthrough season are already forming. You may not be able to see the full turn yet, but it is coming. It is already in motion. And when it arrives, it will arrive with a force and a fullness that will restore everything that was taken, heal everything that was broken, and establish you in a place that no one who rejected you has the power to remove you from. Type 222 to receive the blessing that is already on the way to you. Chosen one, I want you to close your eyes for a moment after you finish reading this section. I want you to picture the version of yourself that is standing on the other side of everything you are currently walking through. That version of you is not broken. That version of you is not defined by rejection. That version of you is not still carrying the weight of what people said or did not say, what doors opened or did not open, what people believed or refused to believe. That version of you is standing in the fullness of what God promised, rooted, confidence, healed, whole, walking on purpose, surrounded by the right people, operating in gifts that were suppressed during the season of rejection, doing things that once seemed impossible, living in overflow that was unimaginable during the season of barely enough. That version of you exists. It is not a fantasy. It is not wishful thinking. It is the destination that God has been navigating you toward through every single experience of your journey, including the painful ones, especially the painful ones, and the path between where you are now and where that version of you stands is shorter than the enemy wants you to believe. It is closer than the discouragement inside you is willing to admit. It is more certain than any doubt that has tried to convince you to give up. You are going to make it. Not because life is going to suddenly become easy, not because you are going to be free from challenges or opposition, but because the God who started this story in you is faithful to complete it. And what he begins, he finishes. What he promises, he delivers. What he declares over a chosen life, he brings to pass. They said no. God said, "Watch me." And you, chosen one, are about to watch God do exactly what he said he would do. Chosen one, as we move toward the close of this message, I want to speak a declaration over your life. I want you to receive these words, not just intellectually, but deeply, into the part of your spirit that has been wounded by rejection and is ready to be healed. You are not what they called you. You are not defined by their rejection. You are not limited by their no. You are not finished because the door is closed. You are not disqualified because someone could not see your worth. You are not stuck because the last season was hard. You are chosen by a God who does not make mistakes. You are called by a God who does not change his mind based on the opinion of limited human beings. You are loved by a God who saw every version of you, including the versions you are most ashamed of, and still decided you were worth dying for. The people who said no to you were never the gatekeepers of your destiny. God is, and he has already said yes. He said yes before you were born. He said yes when he formed the plans he has for you. Plans for good and not for evil. Plans for a future and a hope. He said yes when he placed the calling inside you that still burns even after all the rejection tried to extinguish it. He said yes when he allowed you to survive every season that tried to take you out. His eyes are active right now in your life. His eyes are moving through circumstances you cannot yet see. His yes is arranging encounters you do not yet know about. His yes is opening doors that have not yet come into your view. They said no, but God said, "Watch me," and the watching is about to begin. Type Amen to declare that God's yes is greater than every no you have ever received. Choose one. Your next step is simple. Keep believing, keep moving, keep trusting. Keep your heart open to what God is doing, even when you cannot see it fully. Keep declaring his promises over your life, even when the circumstances look unchanged. Keep choosing faith over fear, hope over hopelessness, trust over doubt, because you are not at the end of your story. You are at the turning point. And turning points are always uncomfortable before they are beautiful. They always feel uncertain before they feel sure. They always look impossible right before they become undeniable. The people who said no made room. Every rejection created space. Every closed door cleared the path. Every loss removed something that was never meant to stay. And God has been using all of it, every single piece, to build something in your life that is so solid, so purposeful, so aligned with his original design for you, that when it stands fully visible, the only word anyone will have for it is miracle. That miracle is already in motion. That promise is already active. That yes is already echoing through the unseen world and working its way into the visible one. They said no. God said, "Watch me." And the chosen one, the watching has already begun. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a message that was meant to find you. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their rejection is not the end of their story. And remember, you are chosen, you are called, and God's yes over your life is more powerful than every no you have ever faced.